Welcome back into Seattle's Morning News. It's my favorite weekend of the year in Seattle. It's PAX weekend, and that means the Seattle Symphony is doing something cool, and we are getting a really cool treat this year. We are getting the music of Stardew Valley here this weekend, and not only that, we get to sit down with the man behind one of the biggest games here, and one of the biggest games probably to come out of Washington, Ethan Barone here. You might know him as ConcernedApe here. We are really excited to have you on, Eric. Thank you so much for the time.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
I want to start before, of course, we'll get to the music, we'll dive into all of that, but can you first just give me the insight of just Stardew Valley? I mean, this is for folks that don't know, Stardew Valley is a massive game, and it was made right here in Washington. Just tell me about the ride of Stardew Valley. I mean, it continues to be the gift that keeps on giving as people continue to play year after year.
Yeah, well, when I first started working on Stardew Valley, I was like a total outsider to video games. I mean, I grew up playing them, but I didn't know anything about development. It was my first real game that I tried making. But I had graduated from college. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was trying to get jobs, and I kept failing the interviews. So I was like, I'm just going to start making this little game, see how it goes. Maybe I'll learn a thing or two about programming. And over time, it kind of started growing and growing, and I started seeing the potential in this game. And so I kept working on it, and it ended up taking me 4.5 years of solo development. Like I literally did every part of the game, like music, writing, programming, art, everything. But it was a game that was inspired by some of the games I loved as a kid, and I wanted to kind of recapture that magic that I remembered when I was a kid and I played those games. And so after 4.5 years, I had this game complete. It was called Stardew Valley. I released it. I didn't think it was going to be that big, but it pretty quickly started selling a lot of copies. And now, it's been out for almost 10 years, and it's sold well over 40 million copies across all platforms. So it's become a very big thing. It's totally changed my life. It went from a thing that I was just started to do to practice programming to being my entire career. And this is 100% what I do now all day, every day, is work on Stardew Valley and my new game that I'm working on too. But
I will want to ask about that. My wife specifically said, hey, don't push it too much, but I would love to get details about Haunted Chocolatier. I mean, my wife is one of the millions of people around the world that absolutely love this game. And can you just tell me how important it is for an indie game to have the success like this? The video game world is a scary one. As we see, there's lots of turmoil, there's lots of ups and downs. For you to be able to solo create this project, and I know people have come on to start helping you as now 10 years working on this game, basically, how important is it for video game developers here in Seattle, or really across the world, to see Stardew Valley become what it has?
Well, I'm really proud of Stardew Valley in that it kind of shows one extreme end of the spectrum of game development. And it kind of proves that you can be someone who really is a total outsider to the industry, a total amateur, and also completely solo, and you can make something that could turn into a huge game, a huge phenomenon even. So I am very proud of that story, and it kind of just proves what is possible. So I hope that it does inspire more developers, to follow their dreams and, take a chance on themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of what game development really is, right? I mean, you put so much time and energy and effort into creating a game, and then you got to release it out to the public. And from there, that's it. Like you said, you didn't have very high expectations, but what was that moment like for you when you finally just said, it's time to put it out there, it's time for people to see it? How important is it to get to that point, too, to just say, let's get it out there, let's see what the audience says?
Yeah, that's a big challenge, actually, is cutting yourself off. I could have kept working on Stardew Valley for the rest of my life, probably. And in some ways I have, because there's been all these updates. But at some point I was just like, I have to release this, partly for my own sanity. When you're working on one project for 4.5, 5 years, there are games that have been in development for 10 years. This is like a huge portion of your life, and you at some point you just need to release something, or else you'll be driven insane. It's like you just need to have that feedback. It's kind of like the length of time it takes to create a video game. I think is almost like an unnatural amount of time for a human to receive like some kind of reward for their efforts.
Mm-hmm.
So it really takes a lot of willpower and mental fortitude to be able to power through that. And you almost have to kind of like come up with like mental hacks to kind of like trick your brain into thinking you're getting rewards like during the whole process, rather than just at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like you said. I mean, that's a long time when people you kind of think about that. I mean, it's amazing. And one of the big news that came out while we're recording this, of course, Hollow Knight Silksong, another indie game, just finally got its release date after 7 years. When it's small, we hear about video games with these massive teams, with these massive budgets, and they take years to make. So it's not surprising for it to be that. But I feel like that is one of the hardest struggles, no matter what type of artist you are. It's finally saying, it's time to get it out there. It's time to produce it. And you not only decided to say, okay, I got this game that's selling millions of copies. What's next? Well, we're going to take the music to the stage. And now this is, what is this, the third version of the Stardew Valley concert that we're going to see this weekend?
It's the second tour.
The second tour. I mean, so you talk about that a little bit too. You said this is solo development. So you did the music as well in the beginning. And now to take this music and to put it with the Seattle Symphony and other bands, 35-piece orchestras, that's got to be a whole other level of just kind of like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, it is kind of something I never imagined would happen. Because when I was making the music for Stardew Valley, it's all just like sitting at a computer and like clicking notes onto a screen. None of the instruments were live. It's all computer music. So like to actually translate that into real live instruments played by real musicians in front of a physical real audience is like a whole new dimension and something I never really imagined when I was making music. But music has always been like a very important thing for me. Before I even considered going into game development, I was way into music. That was like my passion. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to like be in like rock bands, indie bands, stuff like that. And that never really worked out. So it was kind of, I finally found a way to, share my music with people, and it's through video games. So having that all culminate in the live concert tour is kind of, for me, like a culmination of like everything I've kind of dreamed of, since I was a kid.
What was it like for you to hear this music live performed for the first time? When you heard the bands, when you heard, of course, the video games, the chip tunes, and all those elements, that kind of fits the pixel vibes of Stardew Valley. But then to hear an orchestra perform the music, to hear these professional musicians, and the Seattle Symphony does such a great job with all of their pop culture and video game stuff. It has been so cool to see so many shows across the years here since I've been working here. What was that like for you to hear your music performed that way?
It was pretty touching. Like it was kind of emotional for me to hear that. And it just sounds like the real instrumentation sounded so much better to me than like the electronic. Like it just has this richness, and just being present in the same space as the source of the, a real living source. I don't know. There's just something almost magical, hard to put my finger on about it. But, the first tour, it was only like, I think an 11-piece orchestra. Now for the second tour, it's like a 35-piece. So it's going to be really powerful this time around. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. The opening night, which is Friday after next, which I guess Friday after tomorrow, but the opening night will be the first time that I actually hear the 35-piece orchestra playing the music. It's like I've seen the arrangements. I've heard basically MIDI files of the arrangements, but I haven't actually seen the 35-piece live orchestra playing this music. So for me, it'll also be like, I'm kind of on the edge of my seat waiting to see all of this come together for opening night.
does it add some value that it's happening here in Seattle for you, for this being where you made the game, where you got, where you went to school and everything? Does it kind of add some extra to see this all come together right here in Seattle?
Yeah, definitely. We deliberately chose for the second tour that we would open in Seattle because of those reasons that you mentioned. And yeah, that's going to be special for me. As you mentioned, the Seattle Symphony are fantastic musicians. I'm sure they're going to knock it out of the park. And just being here with, the Stardew Valley Players from Seattle, which, I think are some of the most passionate Stardew Valley fans, because they can feel that Stardew Valley has that Pacific Northwest soul to it. So that'll be really great.
That's actually a great kind of, I didn't even think about all of the fact that game, it does really feels like you would drive into a town in Washington, up in the mountains, there's something like that, and it'd be the exact type of folks, the exact type of vibes that you would find there. We're almost out of time here, but I did want to ask, what is the power of music and sound design in games? How, like, when you were making the game, of course, the gameplay, the farming, and everything's important, but I do think people, when they think about Stardew Valley, I think the music and the sound design and that stuff, that is some of the stuff that sticks with them. I mean, just how important to the process is the music and the sound design?
I think it's very, very important. Like, I think in terms of like having an impact on what the players are feeling, their emotions, I think music is like 70-80% of that, to be honest. Like, I feel like you can't have a great game with bad music. It's like, that's very difficult to achieve. You got to have good music. And it's like, yeah, just whenever there's a scene in the game and I want to convey something, it's like the number one thing by far is going to be the music. That's going to set the tone. It's going to inform what the players think. That's like, basically, as a developer, it's your window directly into the heart of the player. Right there is the music. And like the art, it almost doesn't matter compared to that. Like, there's something special about music. I don't know what it is. It's almost like supernatural.
It unlocks something in our I mean, it tells us this is the moment to lock in. This is the moment to pay attention, I feel like, or the big story moment is about to happen. Eric, thank you so much for your time today. Before we wrap up, like we said, the video game development world is a really tough one, and it continues to change every day. Do you got a message or anything out there for I was told 40,000 folks working in video games here in just Seattle and the Washington area alone? Do you have any message for those, especially those indie developers that are going to be showing off their stuff at Slice and at all the indie stuff at PAX this weekend for those going through the grind right now?
Yeah, I would just say, believe in yourself, stay authentic, follow what you love, do what makes you happy and makes you excited as best you can. And, a lot of making a successful game is just the mental struggle of staying locked in, staying focused, and keeping up, that positive, optimistic attitude and believing in yourself. And that is something that I think, is achievable. Even if, not everyone is going to be the best artist, best musician. In fact, I feel like I'm not the best at anything, actually. But I was able to somehow bring it all together and kind of have that mental fortitude to make it through. And I think that is the key thing to being a successful game developer.
Well, you're going to be able. That's it's great advice as always. And I did promise my wife, so I got to ask: any updates, any little sneak previews, or any information we might get, or maybe some stuff maybe to stay tuned for PAX this weekend. I know a lot of people are excited for your next game.
I will say that I'm still working on it very hard. I'm excited to, be able to share it with people eventually when it's finished. I'm not going to say a release date or anything because, I need to make sure that I'm 100% happy with this game before it's released. But your wife can rest assured that I'm working very hard on this game, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it the very best game it can be. I will say right now, lately I've been working on the fishing. So there is going to be fishing in Haunted Chocolatier, even though it sounds kind of weird for a chocolate making game, but yes, there is fishing in the game.
People love to fish in games, and we know they love to fish in Stardew Valley. The music of Stardew Valley are part of the concert series at Benroya Hall. Mostly sold out, though, right? I think the only tickets that are available are still just the matinee show on Saturday or Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. Wow, what a success. Eric, thank you so much for your time.